Hello and welcome back to Katie's Business Tips. Michael Lapide here to talk to you on some tips on naming your company. Are you starting a new company, looking to start a new company? Maybe you want to rename your company. Maybe it's a numbered company, you need to change it. Okay. First of all, it's an integral part in building a solid foundation for your business, particularly a new business. The name is your brand. It's what you're branding is what people are going to come to know, and over time it will build an energy of itself. So you want to have that name as early as possible that you're going to attach your branding to. Finding a name that's inspiring to you, that might be inspiring to your type of clients and fits into your company's values, obviously, right? Maybe part of your mission, and just treat it as like a foundational thing for your company, that name and that brand, okay? So let's talk about some tips. First of all, make sure you finalize the structure. Right? Because if you choose a sole proprietorship, then you move to corporation, then you're going to have to change the name because it's a different business. So you got to be careful of that. And sometimes, you might be a sole proprietor and have some name, and then you find out, oh, someone's incorporated a similar name, and you can't use that now. So you got to be careful with stuff like that. Okay? So always make sure with your structuring that you're tying that in. Determine if that you need a legal name or maybe just a trade name. Legal name is like owning that name. Your corporation or your business would own that name, whereas a trade name is more like I'm renting that name for a while. Okay, that's kind of the way you look at it. And make sure also that the name you choose is linked to domains. Because you want to make sure that you don't choose a name that everybody's got all the domains and you can't even find a good domain for your website around your name. That's important, right? Remember that a legal name and the corporate name is the one that will be used on your invoices, your contracts, your bank. So whatever name you choose will also be the name used on legal documents as long as it's the legal name. Okay? In Canada, you can have a numbered, of course, as we talked about, but it's not recommended. It's hard to brand a numbered company. So numbered company is only when you can't figure out a name and you're doing it temporarily and you're willing to spend more money later down the road to change it to a name because you couldn't come up with a name. But try to come up with a name from the beginning and avoid those numbered companies, okay? The other thing is, once you have your legal main name, you could have a bunch of sub-trade names. You can have as many as you want. So if you were Coca-Cola, you could have a trade name called Cola, or Coca-C, or whatever it is, and you can have a bunch of trade names for your marketing. So you can also have your main legal name, and you can have a bunch of sub-trade names if you want as well. You can also register a trademark, which is even taking it one step further, using your logo and things like that, so no one could even come close to using what you have. That's why you see things trademarked, okay? So those are some tips there, and make sure you comply with all necessary requirements and rules, right? You need to make sure you meet the requirements of Corporations Canada or corporations in the province you're working into as well. Comply with the language rules, and make sure that you don't use any strange names that are just going to cause you issues. Remember, when you have a corporation, you must put either LTD, INC, Corp, Incorporated, Limited behind it. There's all these suffixes you can put at the end. Now, it doesn't make a difference on anything but the sound of the name. It's just your choice, but you always got to put a suffix at the end. So choose your suffix so it rolls nicely, so it sounds good. Does limited sound better? Does incorporation sound better? Does Inc sound better? What sounds better with your name? And the last thing is, do your due diligence to make sure your name is, not chosen and that's not taken. There's no issues. There's no trademarks against it. You can do a search at any registry typically, or with the government, depending what province you live in, and you can do a search to see if your name's used or if there's anything close to your name. So always make sure before you finalize your name choice, make sure it's not already being used, because you could go through everything, you're getting everything set up, you're getting business card and everything, and then you go to register and you find out the name's taken. Do that in advance. If you got any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Post in the comments below, subscribe if you haven't to, and we'll see you in the next video.